Is Wuthering Waves going to fail? Now that I have your attention, no. I don't think Wuthering Waves is going to fail. However, I do want this game to last a very long time and be very successful. And because of that, I have a few concerns about the game that I would like to address today. Now, my first concern is that this game will be comfortable and accessible to play on mobile. Because if the game feels comfortable and satisfying to play on mobile, then that's great. But the issue is I'm worried that I think the game is going to feel clunky and frustrating to play if you're on a mobile phone. Now, a lot of you might not care about this, as you'll probably just play it elsewhere, but the issue is that gachas are still mostly played on mobile, especially in the East, which is a large percentage of the player base for most of these games. Personally, I know as someone who used to play Genshin and currently plays Honkai Star Rail, the fact that I'm able to play Honkai Star Rail in bed and do my dailies, or just do it when I'm on the train or somewhere, is so much nicer than playing on Genshin, where the game just feels terrible on mobile. And I think Wuthering Waves is going to suffer from this even more than Genshin, because at least in Genshin, a lot of the combat's very easy and just bullet sponges. And for those that actually do damage, you have a Zhongli shield to make it where you won't take damage anyways. While in this game, at least as of right now, there's no massive shielder that lets you just ignore mechanics. And while there will be plenty of casual content for people to do on their phone, if people want to do more hardcore content, which is going to be offered in this game, is one of the big selling points of this game. It's going to be very difficult to do on phone, especially with how fast some of the combat could be and some of the quick time events could be. So while early on, I don't think this will be a big issue as people are doing the story and exploring the world, I think it might become an issue if several months into the game when people start doing harder, more endgame content, and this could start alienating part of their player base, because they won't be able to beat the content that they want to do. Or at the very least will feel very clunky and unsatisfying trying to play on mobile. Which this leads into my next concern, which is everyone's advertising this game as being the Dark Souls of gacha games, or like a hardcore gamer gacha game. And while that is partly true, and there is definitely going to be hard endgame content, I think it's also important to address that this game will be for casuals too. I know I dunked on them in the last video, but one saying that Blizzard has always had is that a game should be easy to pick up but hard to master, and I think that's a great way for gaming companies to look at their games. I know personally, at least for me, I'm going to be treating this more hardcore-like, and I'll be trying to do endgame content, looking forward to doing things such as solo clears. But a lot of the player base in almost every game is casual, and it's very important to have a casual player base, because most games can't survive on their own with just the hardcore player base. And I think it's important for people to talk about the other content. I think people are seeing it as Genshin's going to be for casuals and this game is only going to be for hardcore players. However, I don't think that's going to be the case. While Genshin is really for casual only, I think this game will be for casuals and for hardcore. Part of the reason why is I think it really does just offer everything Genshin has. It'll have events, it'll have the story, it'll have exploration, and then even on top of that, it has a whole Pokemon system with shinies, which I'm super excited for. I can't wait to try and get the shinies. I think it'll be really cool on like day one or week one to flex on your friends. Like, look at this really cool shiny I got. And yeah, I don't know, I think it's very important that this game really does its best to also emphasize that there is casual content and this isn't just for the hardcore gamers. It's definitely been hit home a lot that this game will have content for hardcore gamers, and I think that doesn't need to be addressed as much anymore, and people need to start focusing on the more casual side of the content so that everyone could feel like they could play the game and not alienate part of the player base before they even give it a shot. And this brings me into my last big concern for the game, and that's if the game is going to feel too punishing for people that just want to collect their husbands and wives but also still want to try and finish endgame. So for anyone that's played Punishing Grey Raven before, they'll know that if you're fully F2P and you've done everything since the beginning of the game, you're able to get basically, if not every single character in the game, at least one copy of them. But that seems very generous, but it's not quite as generous as it seems, because a lot of these characters in these teams benefit very, very heavily from pulling their weapons and getting duplicates of them. So while you are able to get one copy of every single character in the game in Punishing Grey Raven, a lot of the times you're better off skipping characters still and trying to get duplicates of characters or their weapons, which in recent years has really not been the ideology of players. Most people will try and say that they much prefer getting a character over a duplicate or a weapon, such as like a light cone in Honkai Star Rail. And while this isn't necessarily something that's gonna be exclusive to Wuthering Waves, I think it's gonna be more of an issue than it is in other gacha games. Just because of how good some of the weapons already seem to be, and how good some of the duplicate abilities seem to be as well. And while I don't think it's the end of the world, a lot of people just are here for a gacha game because they want to get, you know, the hot wife, the hot husband, but they're gonna get punished for it is the issue. And that's one of the things I'm most worried about, is will you be able to beat this game if you just want to collect one copy of each character, not get their weapon, and not get duplicates for them? And the question is the casual player gonna be able to beat endgame content while still doing that? And honestly, no. I don't think people will be able to beat it, at least not right away. I know, at least for me, I'm just gonna be pulling the characters I want and the ones that I think are hot, and I'm just gonna hopefully be able to get good enough at the game to where my skill could carry me through it. And the casual player might not be willing to do that, but I'm sure just like any other gacha game, that eventually with enough time, resources, and money, they'll be able to outgear the content, and it should be a lot more easier for them to beat it. But they might have to wait a bit before they beat it, while the people that are more skilled at the game or care more about the meta might be able to beat it long before they do. And honestly, I don't think that's a bad thing either. I know a lot of people kind of either their ego gets hurt or they freak out over like 30 gems that they can't get because they can't beat the hardest part of the game. But if you're able to put your egos aside and realize that the 30 gems aren't going to make or break you getting a character 99.9% of the time, I think overall this is healthier for the game, because it'll give you endgame content that you can't just walk all over just because you played the game for a year or two or you spent money on it. And I think that's a great thing for a game to have. Now, the good news is there's a lot of room to improve as a player, and I don't just mean spending more money on the game or putting more time into the game, but I mean is actually getting better skill-wise as a player. And I think that will be the deciding factor on whether this is a big issue or not. Because if a player is able to just practice and get better at the game, and if skill will be able to carry you more than meta and characters that you pulled are, I think that'll be the big deciding factor on whether this game is F2P friendly or not. Now, the only issue with that though is that gacha gamers aren't known to be the best of gamers out there. I don't know if gacha gamers are the most skillful. Their skill comes in the spend more money button. Anyways, YouTube, let me know what you think. I'm super excited for Wuthering Waves. I don't want this to seem like a doom and gloom video. I think Wuthering Waves is gonna do great. The devs have showed how much they care about this game and how much they care about player feedback, and I think that is one of the most important things in a gaming company, is that they actually listen to the player feedback and make changes quickly and not 2 years later. Anyways, YouTube, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. There'll be more Wuthering Waves content basically every single day. I'm super excited for this game. And once the game comes out, I'm going to be streaming it live on Twitch at twitch.tv/MaddieCho. And I'll be making YouTube videos basically every single day. See you in the next video, guys. Bye!